We are continuing our conversation with our freshman assembly members, and what we want to talk about first is just work-life balance once the session starts. How are you anticipating the work-life balance is going to work when you're up in Carson City for session?
Well, I think for us down in Southern Nevada, first of all, we have to move up there. So, we leave our families, our jobs, and we live there during the week. Fortunately, we can come back and forth on the weekends and until the end when we're pretty much grounded up there, as I hear. But, it's some of us, like myself, my daughters are grown now, so I feel like I can leave and they'll be okay and they can pretty much take care of themselves. I do have a business, and so, I have to leave that and put that in the hands of my husband. But, life still goes on here. Yes, we are up there in sort of a bubble for 120 days, but we still have obligations here with our families and our work in Southern Nevada. So you can't just abandon that. So you have to try and find the balance.
And how do stipends work as far as travel? If you're flying back and forth on the weekends, is that something that's coming out of your own pocket, or is the state paying for that?
You get a stipend. You get a stipend for that. I believe you get $10,000 for travel, which doesn't pay for all of your travel.
No,
obviously.
not every weekend.
Yeah,
for sure.
right. And for me, it doesn't come close because I can't stay up there. I have my wife and 3 little girls live down here, and they're going to need me at some point during the week, and so it's good that I can come back and spend that time. Granted, probably not as much time because they've already got me scheduled for like certain events on the weekends when I come back, because that's how it works, and I signed up to do it. But I think balancing that has been tough. It's not something that I've ever had to do. I've had to balance work and life and home, but being such a great distance, when my wife calls me at my day job and says, "Hey, talk to your daughter. She's not listening to me." It's a little more effective because she knows I'm only 30 minutes away.
Right.
Where now she may not listen to me at all because she's like, "What are you gonna do? You're an hour flight away. What are you gonna do? Jump on a plane on a Wednesday night?" So it's just it's gonna be a learning curve, I think. Just trying to figure out how to balance that. It's already been kind of a learning curve and kind of difficult to with work and part-time legislator job and home, just balancing all that. My wife says she's a single mom. She's been a single mom for a year, and which is kind of true because even when I'm not at work, I'm at work. Doing
a sacrifice.
Else.
And then I bring I think a 180 from Assemblyman Levitt. I don't have children, but I do have a husband, and we're making the big move. So I have to leave my business. I'm a partner in a law firm. I actually, instead of relying on my dad as my mentor, I'm trying to pull him out of retirement to come do some of my complex litigation. And he's stepping up, he's doing it. I hired an associate to take over some of my easier cases to pick up that workload. And so my husband's a commercial airline pilot. And so instead of flying to Las Vegas on his days off, he's gonna fly up to Reno and drive out to Carson. And we're making Carson our home for the 120 days, with the exception I'm flying home a couple weekends just for constituent services. But we're making the big move. I'm really looking forward to this. And I think one of the funny questions was, instead of what BDRs you're going to propose, the biggest question I think we kept getting is, did you get housing in Carson? That is the biggest issue. It's very hard. I mean, and we do get, out of that $10,000, we're allowed to utilize a part of that for housing. It does not come close for the cost of housing. We're paying premiums to live in Carson City.
So to be clear, sorry, Assemblyman Watts, it's $10,000 for your housing and your travel, not $10,000 just for your travel, right?
That's right.
Wow.
So we have and that's only for us because we live down here and have to travel a greater distance to the legislature. The overall thing I would say, and I have a similar situation as Assemblywoman Backus and Assemblywoman Hardy. I have a business. I've had to find and it's difficult to find ways to get that work taken care of temporarily so that you can pick it back up when you get back from session. But it's a financial sacrifice. It really is and I'm not saying that to elicit any sort of sympathy. I'm just trying to reinforce the point that it's public service. We are paid $9,000 in salary for our role as legislators. I think for everybody at this table, that is a pay cut. We work more than 8 hours a day, we're up there 5 days a week and have committee meetings and things going on. Closer to the end of session, we'll be working every single day. We get a small per diem that helps cover costs of food and other things because, again, we're away from home. And then we have that allowance that we have to use to help pay for a place to live for several months and travel back and forth so that we can spend time with our families, so we can spend time with our constituents. So it is a balancing act.